Hi guys, and welcome to this week's short video tutorial. This will be a continuation of the same direction cannons, whereby dubious positions will be analyzed and how the authors of the book will attack them. So without further ado, let us begin. Central cannon, same direction cannons, rank chariot, file chariot, and the rank chariot crosses the palace to the file. Now, in this board, Black would try to consolidate his defense from the central file. Now, this would beef up his defenses on the central file, but it would not be such a good move. Although it would have been better than playing R8 plus 6, but Black would have moved the advisor too early in the game, and this would have very far-reaching implications later on in the battle. The sound move, or the recommended move, or the move that's most seen in competition nowadays, would be to play R8 plus 4. If Black would not have to fear about Red's rapid attack with R6 plus 7. He can simply develop his horse as a proper horse, and if Red tried to attack the horse in this manner, Black would first play C2 plus 2. Now, Red would not dare to capture the horse. If he did, Black would play C2 equals to 3 to attack the chariot, and if it moved away, check, Black would have gained a chariot in exchange for his horse so very early in the game, and this would amount to a considerable advantage and even a winning position. So that is why Red would usually be forced to play p7 plus 1 so that he could attack the horse, but this would buy time for Black to be able to retreat his horse. Now this move is very important because we can see that since the advisor had not been moved as shown in the main line, Black was able to retreat his horse in this manner, and Red usually continue with this, and Black would play c2 equals to 6, preparing to ambush the lone chariot that had just crossed the river. Red would have used up too many moves to move this chariot, and Red would be in trouble, and that is why it is seldom seen that Red would play r6 plus 7 nowadays, because this rapid attack simply cannot work. So that the usual instead of play a6 plus 5, it would be recommended to play r8 plus 4. But in today's topic, this would be the dubious position that was discussed, whereby Black would play a6 plus 5. Now, since a6 plus 5 was played, Red will now attack without any qualms with r6 plus 7. Now this will be the position of discussion, and as can be seen from the position, Red would now threaten to play r6 equals to 8 to gain material. Now there are two major counters at this point in time that were discussed. The first would be h2 plus 3, and the other would be h2 plus 1. Now in the first variation, Black would develop his chariot as his horse as a proper horse. Now, of course, because the advisor was now raised, as mentioned earlier, Black cannot link his horses, and Red will have no qualms attacking the horse. What would happen if Black tried the same thing with c2 plus 2? Again, p7 plus 1 would be played to prevent c2 equals to 3. Black would be forced to protect the horse in this manner. And it would be at this time that Red would sacrifice his pawn and then play c8 equals to 7 to keep his pressure on this file. Now, as can be seen, Black's position would deteriorate even more, because now there will be the added threat of a smothered cannon checkmate. So, Red was also prepared to gain material by trading the chariot for Black's chariot and horse. So Black would be forced to defend in this manner. Now, as under Red's very malicious attack, cracks began to appear in Black's formation. Now, h3 plus 4 is not viable, because Red could simply play h7 plus h7 equals to 8, whereby there will be immediate threat of a smothered cannon checkmate. black would be forced to play c5 equals to 3 and r8 minus 3 is played, and black would lose a piece. Now, a short note, when h3 plus 4 is played, this would not be a good idea because black could defend in this manner. So the chariot cannot capture the cannon, or this cannon will capture the elephant, for example. And black would actually turn the tables. So the best move would still be r7 equals to 8. So back to the main line. Now, after black had raised the advisor, red would immediately change his target of attack and attack this horse. Now, this is one of the advantages of using the chariot to attack the enemy third rank, because he can move left and right to attack both flanks if there was nothing to block it. So this would be one of the strategies, or one of the 36 stratagems, whereby red would feign an attack in the west and suddenly change his direction of attack to attack the east. This is called 声东击西 in Chinese. So this will result in black a lot of trouble for black. Black would now be caught in a situation whereby he would have trouble trying to deal with all of red's aggression. So black would usually protect the horse because the horse is worth more than the elephant. Now this was a move that was forced. Now it is obvious that h7 minus 5 cannot be played because red would immediately capture the central pawn, pin the king, and still threaten a smothered cannon checkmate over here. The red chariot would also threaten to checkmate by capturing the elephant and thus pin the black chariot to the bottom rank. Black can only play a k5 equals to 6, and immediately red would develop his other chariot as a rank chariot to attack the king. Now, in this situation, black cannot hold on much longer, and his position will crumble rapidly. So that is why h7 minus 5 cannot be played, and black would choose to protect the horse in this manner. And since the chariot left the bottom rank, a check will be delivered, forcing the horse back for defense. Again, red will develop his chariot as a rank chariot, preparing to play r9 equals to 4. Of course, black would not allow, and he would have to command this very important line at this point. But this chariot will now attack this other rib file, and as can be seen, black's formation is in a disarray. He would have to spend many moves just trying to get himself out of this mess, and red would have a very nice position whereby he would have many options for attack. So the advantage that red have would be extremely significant. So this would be variation A, whereby h2 plus 3 was played. In variation B, black's counter would be more tenacious. He would play h2 plus 1 to develop his horse to the edge file. But although there were grievances, but black had brought this upon himself because he had played a6 plus 5 earlier on. Unfortunately, this would allow red to concentrate a lot of material to attack this flank, as we shall see. So again, because the advisor had been played, black would have no qualms about playing r6 equals to 8. It was a timely and powerful attack on this flank. In cannon versus cannon opening systems, both colors must be very aggressive and play their moves to be as efficient as possible, as the room for error would be very minute. So if red slowed his pace down with p9 plus 1, red would immediately start to counter attack. Now red would play r6 equals to 8. He could also consider developing his horse, which is okay, but in this variation, black would now choose to sacrifice material. And because this cannon had left its defensive roles, red would be compensated with an attack on this file and would actually have snatched some initiative away, because now red would not have developed his left flank, and although black had sacrificed a piece, he was now attacking. So black would have snatched the initiative away. If the horse moved, the central cannon would capture the pawn, and black would be adequately compensated. So that is why p9 plus 1 cannot be played, and red should keep on applying a lot of pressure with r6 equals to 8, c2 equals to 4, and red would push p9 plus 1. Now this move would be a very nice move, because it would allow for gains in both the offensive and defensive ends of the board for red. Now, not only would it strengthen the blockade placed on this flank, red would also have open line for the development of these two material, for these two pieces. So black would try to slow down red's attack with the riverbank chariot. Now, as can be seen, moving the chariot over here as compared to moving for the third move, there was a whole world of difference. Now, black should not think that he could attack or try to find some form of compensation by attacking aggressively, because red would immediately push the pawn forward, consolidate his defense, and attack the horse, forcing the elephant to move up. And red will now block the elephants from being linked as he prepares to deliver a check and capture the black chariot. Black will be forced to protect the elephant, and red will take his own sweet time to develop his horse. Now, red cannot. If black continued with r1 equals to 2, black will simply apply even more pressure on black's entire flank. So as can be seen, black only have one chariot that would be in the open that he could use to attack or defend, whereas red would be applying tons of pressure on black's flank. So that is why RA plus 6 to try to go on offense would not be viable. Red would now develop his horse. There's an open line. Black would try to negate or to close this line up, but red would simply play h9 plus 8, and then trade of pawns. And at this time, black would try to harass black's position with this move. He's just tried to apply a pin. Now r8 equals to 6 to try to command this line would not be a good idea, because red would now gladly switch his formation and be prepared to capture the elephant, and if the pawn advanced, red would play r9 equals to 1 and still threaten to capture the elephant by force. And by moving the central cannon away, red could now link his elephants up for defense, and that is why red would have the advantage firmly in hand. So black would try to prevent the cannon from moving and try to harass or apply a pin on red's material, but red would have none of it as he would retreat his cannon. With this move, black still would try to discourage red from linking the elephants up, as if he did, he would capture the cannon. But red would now apply even more pressure on this flank, threatening to gain material. The chariot would have blocked the elephant. The horse there will be two pieces attacking one piece over here, and with only one piece guarding it. So this would be a very malicious and powerful move. Now, of course, red would give up his central pawn, but this would be a very interesting situation. Now at this point, two sub-variations were discussed. The first would be c5 plus 4, the other would be c6 minus 6. So in variation BA, whereby black would prepare to sacrifice material to try to go on the attack with c5 plus 4. But would this attack work? Red would immediately defend with h8 minus 7. There's still the threat of gaining material, and now this would be a trade of cannons. And once black's cannon was traded away, black's any offensive by black would turn to nothing. So black would now try to keep his central cannon alive, hoping to have a chance to vie in a game. But with this attack, now it would not be a good idea to trade cannons, because after trading cannons, red will use this horse to attack, and black would play h1 plus 2, offering another trade of chariots. Red would first capture the advisor. R8 minus 3 would not be a good idea, because after trading material, black would actually gain material. But red could also play c2 equals to 8 to gain back lost material, and he will have the advantage. So as can be seen, black would be in all sorts of trouble. So r8 minus 3 is not viable. Instead, a better move would be to capture the advisor. And as can be seen, at this point in time, red would have captured the advisor, and he would now be prepared to attack the cannon, which has nowhere to go. If it moved here, the elephant would capture it. So this red would have the advantage in this situation, and his rear horses are ready to go. So c6 minus 2 is not viable, and instead black would simply retreat his cannon, but to threaten the red chariot, which would move to the cannon rank to threaten this horse. Again, with the advisor at this point, the elephants cannot be linked, or red will simply capture the elephant. Cannot be linked nicely, although the cannon will be protecting it, but this would be still a threat. Red would first move his cannon to safety, and red would traverse. Now switch his attack to the other flank with r9 equals to 4. Now this will be a discovered attack, whereby the chariot will now attack the cannon, and this cannon would be threatening the black chariot. Now r8 equals to 3 would not be a good idea at this point, because black will sacrifice material, and if black try to protect the cannon, black would gain back lost material, and red would actually seize the initiative. Red's efforts thus far would come to naught. r9 equals to 4 will be a very beautiful move, a discovered attack. Black tries to trade material. Black tries to sacrifice his horse. Tries to capture the cannon by moving the horse to the riverbank, sacrificing his horse as a trade. But red will have none of it and play r9 c8 equals to 9. The elephant will be protecting the cannon and attacking the chariot. Now black could play h2 plus 3. It would not be a good idea to try to play r1 plus 7, trading the chariot for the cannon before playing this move, because the threat of capturing the horse would be evident, and now red would still be threatening the cannon. And with the chariot over here, there's always a threat of a checkmate. Red tries to deliver a check, and red would retreat his chariot to block this double check, and it will be very difficult for black to try to mount a kill at this point. Red will have the material advantage and even a winning position. So this is a very complicated situation, and h2 plus 3 would be better than h2 plus 3 would be better than capturing the cannon. Check. Now black would try to find some form of compensation. h3 minus 4 would be a bad idea, because red will now attack and then play h4 equals to 6 to threaten the advisor and also the black horse. The horse cannot advance, as it will be captured, and there will not be any good place. It cannot move here because this horse would have covered this intersection, so red would have a winning position instead. but r8 plus 4 would not be viable, as red would simply attack with r8 plus 2. So as can be seen in cannon versus cannon opening systems like the same direction cannons or the opposite direction cannons, this would lead to very complicated situations very early on in the game, and only the bold or strong of heart will win the game. So now red will be black will be in all sorts of trouble. So black will be in all sorts of trouble. So in variation BB, instead of attacking the central pawn, black could retreat his cannon to attack the chariot. Now red will retreat his chariot to safety. Black could try to vie for a more staunch defensive position. Red will advance his chariot again, and black tries to resort to the strategy of defending stubbornly by placing a pin over here. Other than this move, it would appear that there was no better move for black. So red will now take his time to consolidate his defense before launching the final assault. Black would play r8 goes to 4 to prevent p3 plus 1, as the elephant would now have protected the pawn. So red will now take his time to advance his chariot to control the cross riverbank rank. The chariot will be protecting the horse. After much consideration, black will be forced to give up some material, hoping to be compensated later on. If not, black will be prepared to play r9 equals to 6 for a discovered attack to trade material, and after the cannon captures the elephant, this flank will be in very deep trouble. So r8 plus 1, the horse immediately pounces into action. The elephant is still very vulnerable, and as can be seen, red would now advance the cannon in response to black's threat, pin the horse and elephant. At the same time, the cannon will also be protected by the horse, and we will have the obvious advantage in this situation. Now, there will not be much that black can do. He cannot advance the pawn. The chariot has that covered. Red could consolidate its defense, etc., etc. So, a quick review of this board. We'll review it as black. Okay, let me retract the moves a little bit. Okay, same direction cannons, ranked versus file chariot, cross palace ranked chariot, and this will be the dubious move of ace 6 plus 5. Red would immediately pounce on the chance to play r6 plus 7. Variation A, h2 plus 3, would result in the red chariot creating much mischief along the throat rank to gain a winning position. Variation B, h2 plus 1, is more tenacious. Black would form a unilateral blockade, which is called Tan Pian Fong in Chinese, the Pell corner cannon, and then push p9 plus 1 to start developing his material over here. r8 plus 4, trade off pawns. Again, as can be seen, the horse and chariot cannot move. Black could try to find some form of compensation by harassing. r8 equals to 6 would be horrible, as red would be on a full-scale attack. c5 minus 1, preparing to play c5 equals to 9, and also link the elephants up. Black continues the attack, and we have two sub-variations here. The first would be a5 plus 4, the second would be c6 minus 6. In the c5 plus 4 variation, red would try to go on offensive, but this cannot work because black would retreat his horse to offer a trade of material, and the situation will become more and more complicated. Red moves the chariot to safety. Red keeps his headhunter cannon alive, but this chariot will now apply a discovered attack on both of black's pieces. h1 plus 2 to trade material, but red would have an extra intermediate move of c8 equals to 9, where the elephant will be protecting the cannon. The chariot will now be placed in a predicament. h2 plus 3 is advised, whereby black will try to go on the offensive, but the red horse can negate the attacks of black's elbow horse, and there will be only one piece attacking. Now, black will try to go for the checkmate, but red will be one step faster. If one step faster in this attack, so red would have the material advantage, and he'll be the first to attack. Variation BB, variation BB. Black tries to defend, tries to adjust his formation to the 5-6 cannons, but the pressure on this flank is still too great, too overwhelming. Black tries to apply a pin. Black consolidates his defense, and after trading material, again, red would have the obvious advantage. 4 pieces attacking a flank that is only guarded by a weak horse. There will not be much that black can do. So one of the takeaway lessons from this move is that although sometimes too much defense, like playing a6 plus 5 early in the game, might not be a good thing. So because red can always change the direction of his attacks as shown in variation A, and one major concept that must